Fear is spreading across America's heartland, not from floods or fire, but from something more invisible.
ICE raids, labor shortages, and trade tariffs. Farmers say they can't harvest. Fields go untouched, and the very foundation of American agriculture is cracking. 50,000 American farms, gone in just 5 years. Tariffs, soaring costs, and immigration raids have decimated rural economies from Texas to Iowa. Wheat fields are burned because there's no one to harvest. Storage barns sit silent, and while America struggles to hold on, Canada is cashing in. Just 1,500 miles north, it's a different story. Maple leaf Canadian farms are booming. British Columbia's orchards hum through the winter. Saskatchewan can't issue visas fast enough to meet labor demand. American farmers are quietly crossing the border, not to sell, but to stay. Puzzle piece: how did the breadbasket of the world lose its crust, while Canada booked billion-dollar grain contracts? Let's follow the money, track the exodus, and confront the question Washington hopes you never ask. Right finger: can America still feed itself, or has the breadbasket moved north? United States Texas, from powerhouse to cautionary tale. On December 30, 2024, the U.S. Department of Labor locked the H-2A wage rate for Texas field workers at $15.79 per hour. That means, over a 6-month harvest season, each worker now costs over $18,000 including housing, food, and transport. Heartbreak: over the past 5 years, Texas has lost nearly 18,000 farms and 1.6 million acres of cropland. In 2024 alone, Texas posted $3.4 billion in weather-driven crop losses, worst in the nation for the 3rd year in a row. Cotton alone, $1.8 billion lost. Mid-sized farms face 6-figure labor bills, drought-ravaged yields, and tariffs that choke profit from exports. Maple leaf Canada's gain, the new agricultural powerhouse. While U.S. farmers struggle, Canada is thriving. Upward trend: Canadian net farm income rose 18.3% in 2023. Farmers locked in low fertilizer prices early. They're investing in automation, solar-powered grain dryers, and vertical barley farms. Canada capital is flowing north, because policy up there is stable, predictable, and profit-friendly. America's Corn Belt, cracking under pressure. On March 5, 2025, Nebraska confirmed a devastating outbreak of tar spot, a fast-moving fungal disease that tore through 45 counties, marking the worst corn infection in state history. It slashed yields and sent panic across the Midwest. By April 18, the economic fallout hit. Farm bankruptcies surged 70% compared to the same time last year. Iowa led the nation in Chapter 12 filings, as rising costs and crop losses pushed family farms to the brink. Downward trend: wheat exports collapsed too. U.S. grain was priced out of global markets as Russia and Argentina undercut bids by 30 cents per bushel. That small margin made a massive difference when you're already farming on razor-thin profits. At the same time, farmers faced rising costs for fertilizer, equipment, and labor, while interest rates soared after 4 straight Federal Reserve hikes. And with tariffs back in play, international buyers are looking elsewhere. The Corn Belt is under siege: disease in the fields, debt in the banks, and a shrinking share of the global grain trade. Meanwhile, Canada is booming. Prairie provinces are planting more, exporting more, and locking in contracts U.S. farmers used to own. If Washington doesn't act fast on tariffs, labor, and climate-resilient tech, the breadbasket of the world may soon be wearing a maple leaf. Tariffs plus debt equals collapse. In North Dakota, hope arrived in the form of 2 brand-new soybean processing plants, in Jamestown and Spiritwood. The idea was simple: keep crops local, add value on-site, and stop relying on uncertain Chinese demand. But the pivot came at a steep price. New processing means new infrastructure, massive grain bins, modern delivery trucks, upgraded storage facilities, and strict quality controls. For most farmers, that means new loans, and in 2025, loans are no longer cheap. After 4 consecutive Federal Reserve interest rate hikes, operating credit is drying up. Those who can get loans are paying more than they ever have. Others, they're simply being turned away. So while North Dakota is adjusting its game plan, many farmers are being suffocated by debt, just to make the switch. Wave Arizona, the final blow. Arizona was supposed to be the last refuge, a warm, fertile alternative for growers fleeing drought-ravaged plains. But by mid-2025, it became a warning sign of just how fragile American agriculture has become. It started in June. Immigration raids hit the city of Yuma, right in the middle of harvest. ICE officers swept through work camps at dawn. Entire field crews vanished mid-shift, leaving acres of produce wilting on the vine. Labor wasn't the only problem. The Colorado River, lifeblood of Arizona's farms, delivered another hit. Due to Tier 1 water shortage declarations, 512,000 acre-feet of water, roughly 30% of the canal's normal flow, was cut from irrigation districts. Wells that once ran deep were already capped by House Bill 2570, and with no backup supply, farmers turned to drip irrigation, rationed lines, and hope. Then came the third blow: disease. On May 30th, Hickman's Family Farms, Arizona's largest egg producer, confirmed that H5N1 bird flu had wiped out 6 million laying hens, equal to 95% of the state's egg supply. Their barns went dark, and hundreds of workers were swept onto unemployment rolls overnight. But even for the farms that avoided disaster, the math no longer works. New tariffs on Mexican feed corn, introduced in January, added $3 per ton to ration costs. Meanwhile, irrigation costs tripled due to energy spikes and reduced water availability. Profit margins, already razor-thin, collapsed entirely. Across Arizona, farmers are now stuck, facing soaring costs, no labor, no water, and rising disease risks. Lenders are getting nervous. They're raising collateral requirements or freezing operating lines altogether. And that's pushing many producers to the same painful conclusion: walk away. Knightbridge, California, the crumbling fruit fortress. Electricity rates in California have jumped 127% since 2014. Light bulb PG&E power costs have made irrigation unaffordable for many Central Valley growers. Allied grape growers called for bulldozing 50,000 acres of vines due to oversupply and plummeting prices. Avocados. Nearly 90% of U.S. avocados now come from Mexico. At current rates, California growers lose money just picking and cooling each fruit. Package Canada seizes the moment. By May 10, 2025, Canadian elevators shipped 18.4 million tons of wheat, on pace to beat last year's record. Canada-Vancouver ports are now the new export hub, sending grain once bound for the Gulf Coast to Europe, Japan, and Mexico. Upward trend: Saskatchewan plans 14.2 million wheat acres. Alberta, expanding, too. Even the workers once feared lost to immigration policies are being scooped up by Ottawa's open work permit pilot. Red exclamation mark, the alarm bell is ringing. No entry: 28,000 U.S. farms vanished in the last decade. That's not a trend, it's a warning. And while Washington debates tariffs and immigration quotas, Canada is quietly writing the future. Unless the U.S. fixes labor laws, renegotiates water access, ends the tariff war, and invests in climate-resilient farming, America could become the buyer, not the grower. So, what's next? Will Congress act before the combine auctions become permanent? Or will the maple leaf become the new symbol of global grain power? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, because this story is still unfolding, and the scoreboard is ticking.